All right, so welcome everyone. If you were absent when we did these word problem examples, or if you need some extra help trying to get through those Delta Math, I'm going to go through these problems again. Maybe that'll give you some tips if you are trying the 4 questions in Delta Math. So when you're solving a system of equations word problem, there's really kind of 3 steps you want to follow. The first thing you want to do is define your variables, like state what your x is going to represent, what your y is going to represent. And the tricky step 2 is where you're going to try and come up with 2 equations. And that's something that takes some practice or seeing some examples. So that's what we're working towards. But then step 3, we're going to solve. You can solve these like you normally would. You're going to see they kind of set up more for elimination if you want to do it by hand. But I'm going to show you how we can just graph them in Desmos, because my focus is more on setting up these problems than solving them, because that's what our last quiz was all about, solving. So now I'm just can we take like a problem and like a scenario and like set it up so we can solve. That's more my focus. So this first example we're going to look at, it says Kevin would like to buy 10 bouquets. The standard bouquet costs $7. The deluxe bouquet costs $12. He can only afford to spend $100. How many of each type can he buy? So when I'm doing these questions, I like to underline if possible. I know if you're doing that on the computer, that's not always a possibility. But you want to hone in on important information. So he bought 10 bouquets. The standard costs $7. And maybe I'll kind of color code. Standard bouquet was $7. The deluxe is $12. And I'm also going to do this in purple. He can spend $100. The last sentence or the second to last sentence are always going to be they're going to ask you what they want you to find. So step 1, we're going to define our variables. And I'm always just going to use x and y. So they want us to, if you read the last sentence, it says how many of each type you can buy. So don't state it directly, but if you look in the question, the 2 types of bouquet were standard and deluxe, and we're trying to find how many of each. So I like to do the order they gave them to me. So they gave me standard first, and then they gave me they talked about the deluxe. So I'm going to make my x the number of standard bouquets. So I'll just put number of standard. For my y, I'll make it the number of deluxe. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, we're going to come up with our equation. So we're going to have 2 equations. It's going to look like system questions we were solving like on our previous quiz. We're going to have something like x plus y equals something, some form of that general equation they're going to kind of follow. So one thing to kind of look for in your equation is if they have a total amount they're going to spend or a total amount of objects, that's going to be one of your totals. Your totals are always going to be what your equations equal. So we have a total of $100 and we have a total of 10 bouquets. So one of our equations is going to equal 100 and one of our equations is going to equal 10. Any total you see in a problem is going to be what one of your equations is going to equal. And then now we just want to kind of think more about what's going to go on the other side. Like I said, all of these equations are always going to have some version of x and y like added together, but sometimes you might have coefficients. For example, this first equation I have set equal to $100. So I want to think about what each one of these cost. So if you look, a standard bouquet was $7, so that's like 7x. And a deluxe bouquet costs $12, so that's really like 12y. So that would be kind of like our money equation, because remember, this was $100 here. And then the number of bouquets is 10. We're just talking about the number of bouquets, but if you look at our variables, we're already talking about the number of these. So it's not like I have to put a number in front, like x is 1 bouquet, or like, so we just got to figure out what the variable x would be. So the second equation is just going to stay as x plus y equals 10, because we're not talking about money or some kind of quantity per thing. So these would be our 2 equations. Step 3, we're just going to graph these in Desmos. So if you go to Desmos on your phone or in your Chromebook, just type in those 2 equations. So we had 7 x plus 12y equals 100. And then do it on a separate line. We had x plus y equals 10. And depending on if your phone, if it's like, if you're on your phone, you can kind of like zoom in like you would like a photo. If it's on the computer, I don't know, my camera's in the way, but you should see like this minus button in the top right over here. You can click that to zoom out, but once you see where they cross, just click, it'll tell you the coordinates of it. So our x is 4, our y is 6. So just to kind of answer the actual question, since x is 4, that's standard bouquets. So you bought 4 standard. And our y was 6, so that was deluxe bouquets. You usually want to label your answers since we're talking about like a context of a problem. Okay, let's take a look at another one. So in this example, we have a group of 3 adults and 10 students that paid $102 for a cavern tour. And then our second group had 3 adults and 7 students, and they paid $84 for a tour. Our goal is to find the admission price for an adult ticket and a student ticket. So like I said, the last sentence really is where they're going to tell you what they want you to find, or really what your 2 variables will be. So we're trying to find an adult ticket and we're trying to find a student ticket. So, and more importantly, we're trying to find the price. Like in this problem, they tell us how many tickets were sold. We're actually trying to find the price for an adult to get in. And we're trying to find the price for a student to get in. Okay, so we're going to set up our 2 equations. So we're looking for total amounts. In this example, we have a lot going on with money. So if you look in the problem, you should see one of the totals was $102 and the other total was $84. Like totals are always what your equation is going to be equal to. Sometimes they'll even use the word total in a problem. If you see total, that's what it's going to equal, but they're not always going to say it's your total. I mean, you got to like read the problem and kind of pick that out. So if you look at this first sentence, like 3 adults and 10 students. If you remember from our variable, adults is x, so that's really like 3x, and students are y, so that's really like 10y. So, and we're going to add these together because when it says and, that usually implies like addition or add in a problem. So our first equation would be 3x plus 10y. Then our second equation, if we look, we have 3 students and 3 adults and 7 students paid $84. So those are our 2 equations. We're going to graph those really quick. Just clear out if you already have something in. So we had 3x plus 7y, I believe, equals, what was it, 104? 102. Oh, it was 10y. Oops. Oop. Sorry about that. So it helps if you write down the problem. So you're not like me going back and forth, but it was 10y and that was 102 for the first one. Then our second one was 3x and 7y is 84. 3x plus 7y equals 84. Like I said, you can pinch to kind of zoom out or use the minus button you'll see in the top right, but we get x is 14, y is 6. So we just kind of want to put that in terms of our problem. We would have $14 for an adult because we're talking about money or the price in this problem. And our y was $6, and that's how much it costs a student to get in. So these can be a little bit tricky, but definitely use these examples to try and help you with the Delta Math. You'll see the first 2 questions in Delta Math, you just kind of set up your equations. You're not actually going to solve. But the second 2 problems, you'll actually kind of set them up and solve. It's just going to ask for the final answers. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions with this, though. Have a good one, everyone.